Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Rabia Mirza. I'm a senior HR professional. I love what I do. I believe in what I do. Have you ever been faced with conflict where you feel overwhelmed? Well, if your answer is yes, then you're not alone. Today, I'm going to be sharing some tips and some tools to help you manage yourself as a leader. Often we are faced with dealing with conflict amongst other people, but we never get a chance to kind of take care of ourselves and deal with how it affects us. So today I'm going to be talking about that. I have a special guest with me joining today, Jenny Cruz.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Jenny. Jenny Cruz is the owner of the Wellbeing Network. She is a coach and mentor. She's also my coach, and I've learned a great many things from her. So I'll be sharing some tips with you, and then I'll hand it over to Jenny to share her points of views. So conflict, what is conflict? Conflict is a very natural, very normal human behavior trait. We're all faced with conflict at some point, professionally and in our personal lives. And it's very important to take care of ourselves when we're faced with this. So conflict occurs when something outside of us upsets us. So it's when a need is not being met from another person or from a few people. And it makes us feel upset, sad, angry, frustrated, and many, things like that. So how do we manage ourselves? It's very important that we take care of ourselves in this situation, especially as leaders. So I'm going to share some tools that I've tried and tested, and I'm going to actually showcase some of this with you as well, but only a tiny bit, just a sneak preview. So first of all, when you're faced with conflict, you're not always in a situation where you can actually practice this. So take some time out in the office or do it afterwards when you get home in a quiet place. Sit down in a place where you're feeling comfortable, wear something comfortable. And what you need to do is, it's very normal to feel upset if there's conflict. That's number one. So you need to recognize that it's okay to feel upset. It's despite what your title is in the workplace, it's totally normal to feel upset. So just accept it, first of all. Then sit down, take a few deep breaths in and out. Sometimes we tend to take breaths in and we forget to breathe out. So it's very important to do that. And what you're doing there is relaxing the body and preparing it to release the anger, the frustration, the overwhelm. So take 3 breaths in and out, and then sit with your thoughts. So how are you feeling? Are you feeling upset? Are you feeling frustrated? Are you feeling angry? How's your body feeling? Does your body feel tense in different parts? Is your face tight? Is your heart rate up? Are you feeling warm, hot? Is your body tense? Sometimes we carry tension in our jaw, our neck, shoulders, hands, even sometimes our lower back. It tends to cave in, and that's a sign that your body is stressed. So what you need to do is we need to release that. So how you do that is, I'm going to practice one little thing with you. I'm going to look like an idiot, but I'm here to help. So what we do is we tense some parts of our body and then we just release the tension. So we do it in 3 steps, or as many steps as you want and as many times as you need to. For me, usually if I just do it once, it works. So I'm going to tense my face and show you how to do it, and then you can practice the rest on your own, okay? So tense the face and hold it for about 3-4 seconds. I'm tensing my forehead, I'm tensing my eyes, my nose, my lips, my jaw, my ears, my head. I'm holding it for 3, seconds. And then I just release. Okay. And then the next you can do is with your shoulders, your chest, your arms, your hands. Try the same practice. And then you can do an all over one. And you can repeat it as many times as you want. And then sit down, take a few deep breaths, and then see how your body feels. Is it any different to how it felt before you did those tactics? You should notice a difference. If you've done it correctly, you'll feel more relaxed. Your thoughts would have probably gone away as well, or definitely diminished. So it's an all-round good factor, this exercise. And, you know, it really works. I was skeptical at first when I tried this, but it works. So, Jenny, I'm going to pass it over to you to share your exciting tips on how to do this.
Thanks very much, Robbie. I just want to say I love that exercise that you just practiced for us there, that you demonstrated. And what I love about it is really, apart from the closing of your eyes part, you can actually do it anywhere. You know, you can do it in the car when you're waiting in traffic. You can do it, you know, in the bathroom, you know, while you're waiting for the cubicle to come free. You don't have to have like a really long amount of time or a special place to go to. Often people think that when we're getting in touch with our body and our breath and our emotions, that we need to kind of head off to some sort of a meditation room or something special, where most of these tools and tips that we put into practice ourselves are really, you know, at hand. They can be pulled out of the bag at any stage, and they literally take less than 2 minutes, and they're powerful. Just to go back to your point about conflict, one of my favorite quotes I love about conflict is inevitable, combat is optional. You know, so we get mixed up. You know, the idea that the conflict is really that we just disagree with each other. You know, you could say, you know, it's a gorgeous day today, and I might say, well, it's actually a terrible day today because the sun isn't shining. You know, that's us in conflict. But when we bring it to the level of combat, that's when people get stressed, you know, get upset, maybe, you know, we take it to the next level. So even just acknowledging the fact that people are always going to be in conflict with us. And we need conflict in the world, because imagine how boring the world would be if everybody agreed on absolutely everything. Everybody thought exactly the same way. You know, your opinion is as valid as mine. So having that difference and diversity is what makes us so fruitful and dynamic.
I'm not sure if I agree with that, Jenny.
Well, you know, what I'm saying is, if you have, yeah, there's your difference of opinion. There you go. Yes,
and it was a dry joke, but anyway.
If you were to agree with everything I said, then would this interview be so boring? So just to go back then to the tools that we have, you mentioned, you know, that sometimes the tools work for you like at the first time round. One of the big things I would always say is, when you're using tools, the tools will work as best as your body can work. And what I mean by that is, when you're overworked, you're overwhelmed, you haven't taken a lunch break, you're dehydrated, you know, you're under pressure, the tools will have some impact, but not as much as they can as when you're looking after the physical body as well. The physical body is a vessel that needs to be looked after the same way you bring your car to be serviced. You know, you put diesel in the tank or petrol, or plug it in now if it's electric. You need to take care of the physical body as well. So we need rest. We need breath, like you say, decent breath that takes in a big amount of oxygen and allows it back out again. We need hydration. You know, one of the biggest clues that we're hydrated at our desk is yawning. People think when they yawn that they're actually tired, and they may well be, but it's also a real indication that you're dehydrated. So decent food that feeds the body, not just, you know, gives us empty calories to keep going, you know, something decent. Because the better you look after your body, the better all of the tools will work for you. And one of the things one of my biggest tools in the toolkit I would have is empathy. So I remember having a conversation with somebody about tolerance. You know, there's so many different personalities that we work with today. You know, not everybody is going to be your cup of tea. Not everybody's going to be, you're not going to be everybody else's cup of tea. So it's a level of tolerance is required with some people. You know, they might get on your nerves or whatever it might be. And of course, we can look at that ourselves and say, well, why do they press my buttons? But if you've done all that and you're at the stage where you share an office with somebody and they really rub up against you and you need to kind of nurture some tolerance in yourself, I would always suggest to people to start with the very basics of going in at the level of understanding. Like, what is it that this person needs that makes them the way they are? So, you know, say for example, there's somebody that's very needy and needs a lot of attention and they're always disturbing you and interrupting you. Try and look at that person through the lens of understanding and maybe bring some empathy to the equation. If you could walk in their shoes for a day, what is it that's missing in their life that they need to act in that certain way? Then from that place, you can nurture compassion. So compassion is the idea that we can love and understand somebody at the same time. We don't have to love their behavior, but we can love them. And it's not love like being in love. We can, a better word for love sometimes is kindness. So we can show kindness, and kindness doesn't have to be that you do acts of kindness, a doing action. Kindness can sometimes be something that you're not doing, like not judging, not raising your eyes to heaven, not being impatient, not being intolerant. And then that leads us to the road of tolerance. So if you think about it like this, the path to compassion is paved with understanding, and the path to tolerance is paved with compassion. So
that's
how does that?
a very good way of looking at it. You know, it's very deep, and you know, it may take some while for some people to understand this. And I think a lot of that, you know, having empathy and understanding and acceptance of others, sometimes it's because we don't actually have that for ourselves. And therefore, sometimes we can't, you know, express that in others, or we can't see others with empathy and kindness because we don't have that for ourselves. So maybe, you know, some other work may need to be done. And I'm sure.
But actually, when you can go through that process and learn to tolerate people who are previously kind of pressing your buttons, the real gift is to you. You're gifting yourself the freedom of that tolerance, because you just have to tolerate them. Nobody says you have to like them. You don't have to go out for drinks with them. You just have to tolerate them. And what we mean by that is they no longer grate on you. They no longer press your buttons. They just coexist with you. And the biggest the toolkit for that work is mindfulness. And it doesn't matter how you frame it, like the exercise you just did there with the tense and relax. That's a mindful exercise where in that moment our extreme and intense focus is on something other than the busyness of our mind. And unfortunately, mindfulness has this sort of I suppose it has a name for being something that's difficult, or maybe being a bit woo-woo, or something other than it is, when it's simply focus in the moment. And the more you can train your mind to focus in the moment, the stronger control you have over your own thoughts and over your own mind.
Yeah, it's a life changer, you know, practicing mindfulness, being in the moment. Maybe mindfulness, actually, the word can be misleading because it actually, I don't know who created this word, you know, I know it wasn't you, but you know, it's not the mind being full. It's actually, it should be mindlessness, if anything, because what it's doing, it's clearing the clutter. So when you focus on something, you know, non-stop, even for a couple of minutes, a couple of times a day, it's a life changer. Like if you do it regularly and consistently, it's a life changer. It really,
absolutely.
You know, and there's different ways of doing it, like the tensing the body and then releasing, just relaxing the body. You know, that's a form of mindlessness. And you know, there's meditation, yoga, strenuous exercise, I don't know, like rock climbing or mountain climbing, you know, where you focus. So yeah, it is a life changer. It changes how your brain works, or which side of the brain you use.
People often get mindfulness and meditation mixed up. And what we would say is that mindfulness can be meditation, and it can be walking, dancing, singing, eating, drinking, you know, a whole litany of things. And mindful meditation is always mindful, you know, so we're always mindful of something in meditation. So
Right,
it's like
okay.
the difference, you know, where people often think that you have to be meditating to be taking part in mindfulness, where it can just be something as simple as, like, one of my favorite mindful activities is a mindful cup of tea. Just taking the cup of tea and taking your time to savor it using your five senses. You know, taking now in the hand, we have the texture, we're feeling the temperature, you know, just really relating into that moment. Bringing it up to your nose, the sense of smell, and not even just the smell, even the vapors kind of traveling through your nose, that sensation. Then as you sip from it, you know, the savoring of the taste, and then the sensation of it traveling down your neck. And even as you look at the cup, kind of noticing, it could be the outside of the cup, a design you've never noticed. And, you know, that's just one sip. So imagine to do that for a single cup of tea once a day. Or imagine how powerful your day would be to start your day with a mindful cup of tea or coffee. So no phone, no radio, no news, no, you know, no other interference in your mind, just to really land and just allow your mind to focus extremely.
That's, yeah, very true. And that was actually one of my first things that I learned from one of your workshops, was to enjoy my coffee. I'm more of a coffee drinker. But it does, you know, make a difference where you notice things where you never noticed before. I guess the point of all this, you know, enjoying a cup of tea or coffee, you know, it makes your mind relax. And that actually, taking it back to managing yourself in conflict, what it does is it makes your mind more relaxed overall by practicing all of these, by using all of these tools that I've shared, that Jenny has shared. And, you know, consistency and regularity is the key. There's no way, you know, you can't do it once a year and expect results. You need to practice it more or less, you know, every time when you're faced with conflict. It does work if you practice it. I guarantee it. I promise you. So thank you so much, Jenny. Absolutely fantastic to have you here. And hopefully we'll be doing more of these.
No problem, Robbie. It's my pleasure. And thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Yeah, thanks, Emil.